The last session, corporate governance. May I please invite Mr. Mohammed J. Jaffer, Chairman ICI Pakistan, to please come forward and moderate the session.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to be the moderator for this session. The topic which we are about to discuss, thank you, is corporate governance, and part of it is a panel discussion on the crisis, mobilizing boards for change. To meet the challenges of the economic crisis, corporate boards must change the way they work. Studies have shown that in times of economic turmoil, boards are less able to forecast conditions and face uncertainty. It is in these circumstances that we have a very distinguished panel of three speakers to join us. May I invite them one by one? Mr. Shaukat Bra, Professor of Operations Management at the Suleiman Dawood School of Business, Lahore. You've had him before, of course, already. Thank you. He's, as I said, a professor since July 2007. He's also a PhD from the American University of the University of Houston and has done various other projects before coming here. He has published an innumerable number of over 20 internationally refereed papers, hundreds of citations in research works, and indeed his academic qualifications are widely accepted and internationally recognized. It's an honor to have you with us, sir. Or shall I say, Dr. Saab. My next panelist is someone who, to use the cliche, needs no introduction, a former president of the MAP. May I invite Mr. Moeez Ali Naqvi to please come and take his place on as a panelist. Mr. Moeez Naqvi, as is well known, is the most distinguished chartered accountant in Pakistan, senior partner of Tasir Hadi Khalid, the representatives of the KPMG Group. He has been many years on the committee of ICAP, of MAP, president. He's been of the Management Association of Pakistan, a director of the Karachi Stock Exchange in 1999 and 2000. That's before all the scandals and breaks of 2005 and 2008, I'm glad to say. He's currently, he's with us today, and he's on many government commissions and had a very, very active part in drafting the Code of Governance, which was eventually adopted and is today the Code of Corporate Governance, which governs all listed companies. The third person who I have the honor to invite to join us here is Mr. Sarfaraz Rahman, the CEO of Engro Foods, whom we had with us hardly a few minutes ago, but I'm glad that he's again taken the trouble of jumping up and down the stage. So thank you very much. With 25 years of professional work experience, as he mentioned, he started his career in Unilever. Throughout this time, he went through finance, marketing, services, and projects, moved to SmithKline Beecham, which is now, of course, absorbed by Glaxo Wellcome, and has done many other things here and abroad in the Middle East and in the Far East, Pepsi Cola, etc., and is now back with Engro Foods for the last 3 years. And we have seen such a growth of Engro food products that we wonder what's next. Certainly, in terms of innovation, no one can doubt his credentials. So please welcome all our three distinguished panelists. As I said, and I won't stand here the whole time, before taking my seat, I'll just do the introduction. The topic is corporate governance, and we had a very, very lively discussion in the last session. Moin Fada and the four or five panelists, each distinguished in his own way. But the broader topic is corporate governance. And 2 points which did emerge, which I think can follow through in this session, is that someone, I read out from The Economist, that family businesses are not that bad. And in fact, I think and the McKinsey report, which talks of 15% and all that, is all perfectly right. But I think part of it is the source of the basis on which the McKinsey report is drawn. Because most of the reports, and I've done a lot of research on this, are in respect of listed companies. Now, in major countries like the USA, where you have thousands of listed, in India, etc., etc. But in Pakistan, where the premier stock exchange, and Naqvi Saab will bear me out, as well as Moeez Saab, we have roughly 700 or under listed stock companies. And if they are the basis of the discussions, of the research, then perhaps the result tends to be slightly skewed. But internationally it is accepted. I know I've read the research in Canada that again, it's roughly 1/3 survive to the second generation, and beyond that hardly 15% to the third generation. And that's the same of India, the same of Turkey, by way of example. The other point which emerges from the last discussion on family corporate governance was a very, very telling remark, I think, made by Mr. Samad Daud, when he says one of the problems is that the father tends to look at his son as the eyes of a father and not the eyes of a manager. And I think there's a it's very true, and the flip side to it is that the son tends to look at the father as someone whom he must respect, as someone of authority, and not as a professional manager or professional senior. But moving on from that, why are we talking about corporate governance and how corporate governance can help us today? This is a very popular word, popular topic, corporate governance, good governance, etc. And I think the best summary I found doing my research is from a speech delivered, interestingly, in Lahore to the IBP convocation in March 2008, when the then governor, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, said, "Corporate governance revolves around the basic principles of fairness, transparency, and accountability. Contrary to the perception of many, good governance is not a new phenomenon. The concept of well-governed companies has been there ever since formal businesses took over the barter trading system. Corporate governance received fresh impetus and widespread recognition during the 1990s with the launching of the Cadbury report in UK, etc., etc. Corporate governance is critical to improving economic efficiency and growth." This is again part of the topic which we are about to discuss. "And serves to foster investor confidence and attract domestic as well as foreign investors. Companies operating on the principles of good corporate governance are able to attract investment, public investment." And then she concludes, she's talking to the bankers, but having spoken about why corporate governance is good for banks, etc. "Good corporate governance is essential in establishing an attractive investment climate characterized by competitive companies and efficient financial markets. It is imperative that to provide an impetus to economic growth." And the concluding sentence is a very telling sentence, which we must never overlook when we talk about governance and corporate governance, what we can do in today's economic turmoil. "Ethics, transparency, and the competition for reputation are the cornerstone of good corporate governance." With that background, may I suggest that it is a good time to look at a little more detail. What are the bores? How can we